Okay. Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to Amityville Horror. Thank you for visiting. I'm Clint, and of course, with me is Don.
Always.
Maybe we'll get joined by Mo a little bit later. Today, we are joined by a very special guest, and I can't believe I'm saying this. Patricia Tallman is here with us today. So thank you for coming.
That's so sweet of you. Happy to be here.
I um I have a couple of things I want to say here. It's like so all anyone needs to do is scroll through your credits on IMDb to see what an incredible career you've built. You have acting credits, stunt credits, podcasts, cinema documentaries, voice acting. I mean, you have so many credits. I'd probably put people to sleep if I went through them all. So of course I won't do that, but a few notables. Night Riders, which recently I just checked that out, which is pretty sweet. It's an interesting idea, and I can't believe I missed it before from Romero. Night of the Living Dead, Babylon 5, Army of Freaking Darkness. I mean, it's a very long list. And I was surprised to find out, well, maybe not surprised, but the stunt credit list was longer than the acting credit list. And since I'm on that, I wanted to ask a couple things maybe I didn't understand before, because I think that you're exactly the right person to ask about it. I normally think, me knowing nothing about it, I normally think of stunts and acting being two different things entirely, like just like two occupations in the industry, and it's not super common in my mind for people to do both, but you do both. So I wanted to ask, in your opinion, how common is it really for people in the industry to do both?
To do both, right.
Yeah.
You're right. It was rare when I was doing this in my heyday. So that was the 90s when I was working. I was one of the top 5 working stunt women in Los Angeles, and it was frowned upon. So I didn't, when I was doing stunt work, I never talked about being an actor. And when I was acting, I never talked about doing stunts, because the prejudice was that if you're an actor and you also do stunts, then you must not be a very good actor.
Okay.
If you're a stunt person, you want to act, you must not be a very good actor. Or you're not taking your job seriously. So for stunts, there was a slight differences in that. In the stunt industry, sometimes there are jobs that cross over. It's a small part, tiny small part, couple of lines maybe, and then something bad's going to happen to you, right? That was my life on Star Trek. So they want to know you can do a line. They want to know you can be trusted with a line. And so having some acting chops was beneficial, but they didn't want to know that you were spending too much time pursuing an acting career, because then you're not taking your stunt career seriously. So I just didn't talk about it. And I would have to go in Star Trek and audition with, I had one time had to go in front of casting and do "I Captain." That was the fucking line.
Wow.
I Captain.
And I had to go in and do that, "I Captain." And then I was like, okay, yeah, good. Okay. Either you're the right size or not in stunts, and you either have the chops to do the gag or not. But for acting, yeah, they would think you were not serious about an acting career. Like, it's okay to wait tables. It's okay to have another job to pay bills, because that's the life of an artist. But if you did stunts, you must not be a very good actor. For some reason, it was this weird. Yeah.
It was just a gray area.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So I would be on Babylon 5 one day, and the next day I'd be on Deep Space Nine doubling Terry Farrell.
Wow.
Or Nah Visitor or something. And I just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
I don't. So now it could be different. It could. Now there are some actors that I think do both, and I'm not talking about like the Jackie Chans that are action actors. And
Kane Hodder comes to my mind anytime
Kane.
That's something
exactly
like that comes
right,
because he's done BTK where he wasn't, behind a mask. That was
Right.
him with glasses on, and that was it.
There you go.
So that's where you can see, and
Yeah.
he's not a bad actor either.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the short list of people we know who do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stopped.
Okay. So I think I know the answer to this next one, but maybe I'm wrong. Well, I only say that because I did a little digging and I realized that you were in theater first before you got into film, and then of course after you had your first role, you got into stunts. So I think I know how you're going to answer it, but you answer it however you feel. Do you consider yourself to be a stunt person who does acting, or an actor who does stunts? Or do you give them equal billing in your mind?
I might skew off into a different direction here. So I've always done a lot of things, and I kind of resist. I definitely resist the pigeonholing thing. Sure. that everybody wants to do, because here's my philosophy. Life wants to put you in a box. Life wants to put all these labels on you, from the obvious to the more subtle, depending on how somebody knows you. And I feel that is so reductive of a human being's life. We are so capable of so many different things. And if we get stuck in these boxes with all these labels on us, sometimes we believe the labels. Our subconscious doesn't know the difference. Our subconscious takes everything as fact. So if you keep being called a thing,
right,
whether it's clumsy, say, what if it's clumsy? Right. You're clumsy. And you weren't clumsy. You were just going through a growing spurt or something, right? But your subconscious is believing that you're clumsy, and you may never question that. Just go through your life having accidents and say, well, I'm clumsy, so there you go. So that's
problem, I guess.
I go through it. Or my son was trying to shake off one from going through growing up, and it was never really true, but it was a nickname that you get when you're young. So that kind of stuff, I guess I never really took to wearing a label. So that being said, obviously I'm an actor. Obviously I'm a stunt woman. I'm also an entrepreneur. I run my own business. I'm very capable. Also, I'm a black belt kickboxer. Also, there's a lot of other things I've been, like a mom.
Yeah.
And now I'm a fiance. I've got a partner.
Normal tropes of life.
That's right. We go through phases too, where one label becomes a little more important than another. But I've always, my acting career started when I was 15. I got my first professional acting job when I was 15. I didn't do a professional stunt job until I was 30.
That was the next question I was going to ask.
Something like that. I was in my 30s, maybe, where I start. So I had been an actor a long time in the theater. And my first time in front of a camera wasn't until I was 21 or 22 with Night Riders with George Romero. Yeah. So that was the first time I ever acted in front of a camera, but I'd been acting for a solid 5-6 years and trained.
Now, did that help, like, propel you into the actual acting? Like, did that kind of calm it down where you weren't like, you do the theater and everything, and you weren't in front of a camera, and then you just kind of get thrown into Night Riders. Were you ready for that? Were you
Yeah, I was totally ready for that. I've been at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. I did the acting program there, and Night Riders was the job I got right after college. So I was fresh out of school, and I had gotten myself that summer to New York City. And I didn't meet George Romero until I was in New York City. He's from Pittsburgh, right? His whole setup's in Pittsburgh. But I had to meet him in a casting director's office in New York City to get the role of Julie Dean in Night Riders. And then went back to Pittsburgh to shoot it. That's kind of funny. But let's see. So I don't know if I answered your question, Clint. It was a fair question, and I took it off into this crazy direction. But I kind of,
I'm gonna call that equal billing.
Equal billing.
I am too.
Exactly right. I think I do a lot of things, and some are I'm more well known for than others, but to me they're important, right? So of course I'm an actor through and through. Right. I'm also been a stunt person. Now I'm 64. I don't necessarily want to ever to do a stunt again, although I love fights. I love fight scenes. Those are the best. But I didn't wear my stunt life. The career as a stunt person was more about my toughness. It was about my determination. It was about my desire to continue to tell stories through action. Whether or not I was the actor didn't matter to me. I just really loved doing the action. I've always loved that. And there was no other place for me to do it, because back when I started acting, there really weren't the action actress roles. Now we've got women kicking ass all over the place, right? In the movies.
It's great.
But it wasn't like that when I was starting off. I was in school I was at Carnegie Mellon from 1975 to 1979. So you really didn't see women in leading roles for as far as acting. They were the arm candy for the action actor. They weren't the ones actually doing all the, or if they did, it was by accident. Ooh,
I get what you're saying.
She's got to die now. Write her off. She's got to
Exactly. So, I was really fortunate with Barbara and Night of the Living Dead, because I did get to kick ass. I did to sort of be the heroine of that story, which was awesome, alongside Tony Todd.
Was awesome.
But we both had our own, we both stood our own 2 feet. It was, I was really blessed to be able to do that role. And that was Tom Savini that
amazing
brought me
in
in.
role.
Oh, thanks so much, Don. I really loved it. I feel like it stands up to the test of time, and I'm proud of all of us for our acting work in that.
It was amazing.
I thought
really
we did a
does.
good job. Thank you.
Did an amazing job. That is my favorite remake of all time. Like, it's
cool.
Nothing will ever touch that.
I really appreciate that.
I just revisited that one again the other night,
just
to remember how wonderful it was. So
wow,
and it still is. I'll do one more thing before I shift gears into acting. I wanted to ask, because stunts seems like a very hard job on your body, which I'm sure that it is. And you basically know going in that you're going to take a beating.
That's right.
Or you're going to do some potential injury to yourself. And I'm sure there's a lot of like training that goes into that to try to toughen up, to prepare for that. And I was just curious, how rigorous of an exercise regimen or something did you have to go through in order to prepare for a role, or did you just do it all the time?
No, you're preparing all the time. Yeah, you have to stay ready, but you also, I would train to learn or train to brush up on whatever the stunt required of us. And sometimes the stunt might be hanging by your hands, for example. I did that off a bridge, so you don't want to fall prematurely. You want to be able to hold on for as long as they want you to. Things like that. So let's
test her dexterity.
You have to work on your strength in your grip, and then you need to kind of know, well, how long do I have before my hands are just going to give out? That kind of thing. So might. That was very specific, but that's how specific it gets. I trained very hard. I was lucky in that I wouldn't have probably gotten into the stunt world without it, but I'd always been a really physical person and was a dancer, and then into martial arts, and fencing was just a hobby of mine. I just loved it. So that all worked out really well.
A lot of people say fencing. It helps.
It's great. It's great. And you have to have a really good sense of your body. And I think though, there is if you are somebody who works out a lot and trains a lot, then you're familiar with physical pain, but there's a whole other level of physical pain when you do stunts. And I think that separates a lot of people out. They come in, they're really good at gymnastics or something. They might have actually what it would take if they wanted to, but they decide the pain is not worth it.
Oh yeah.
It's way too much on my body, and it's really hard on your body. It is. I have pain every day from my stunt career.
I imagine you do.
Every day. I have
Absolutely.
arthritis. I've broken my back a few times. I've broken a bunch of bones, but the back is the crazy. You just do cumulative damage to your body. So whenever, I have young people asking me about doing stunts, I say, don't do it. It's a really dumb thing to do.
I mean, it's hard not to say
dumb.
That. It's hard not to say that.
Why would you do this? It's crazy.
Well, if they're going to take advice from anybody, they should take it from you.
And then if they insist, I'll talk to them about it. But it's a crazy kind of thing to do. There's a piece missing for those of us who do it. We have a piece missing.
I could do it. I tell you right now.
No, and why should you? Why should you?
I don't know. Bragging rights. I don't know.
Yeah, that's about it.
Hey, guess what I do?
Sure. Sure. But after a while, I mean, you wake up one more time in an unbelievable amount of pain and you got to get up and do it again. You just, okay. Bragging rights.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't want to get to the point where I can't.
You will teach
anymore.
yourself eventually not to do that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. So here at Hamityville, we have what I like to call a collective mission. What we're trying to do is look for under-celebrated films. So maybe they were low budget or they weren't advertised very well. They could have been direct to video or to a streaming service. Maybe they made in another country.
Right.
Just something that kind of flew under the radar. You know what I mean? And maybe it didn't get the appreciation that it should have gotten had it reached a wider audience. So the idea is that we want to find them. We want to review them, shine a spotlight on them, and encourage more people to watch them. And I feel like you had one a few years back that kind of lines up pretty perfectly with the idea of what we're doing. And I'm going to say that's Dead Air from 2009. Okay. I just checked that out recently and I thought that was pretty freaking good.
It's good. I know. Kenny Yackel wrote that and he was on the crew in Babylon 5.
Okay.
And then Corbin Burton directed it, of course. And I got to work with Bill Moseley again, playing his ex-wife this time. So that's the third film we've done together.
That's awesome.
It was a great experience. It was a great experience. And I do think I agree with you, Clint. I think it came off well. It stands up, which is, Thanks for mentioning it. I hope some folks can find it and see it.
Hey, see, that's what we're trying to do right there.
Well, I think I'm going to make it the subject of one of our reviews.
Good.
We're doing this. It would make a nice complimentary addition to it, and I think that would be a good one to take a real deep dive into and convince people why they need to go find it on a streaming service and watch it.
I have one for you. It's more recent that I think has been overlooked. I mentioned it and no one seemed to have seen it. What We Do in the Shadows, the film.
Oh my God, really? We're going to talk about this? That is an amazing movie.
Come on. Right?
Well,
it's incredible.
Hey, we've gone in this direction. Talk about it, Don.
Have you watched the series too?
The series, I love the series. I love the series. I wasn't, it's not the film is completely different. And I stumbled across the film. I wasn't familiar with those actors. I didn't recognize them, I guess is what I should say.
I didn't
and right. And I just thought it for a vampire story, it had so much humor and so much heart. I watched it kind of with my mouth open for the first 15 minutes, what? What? And then when the werewolves come in, I was just dying. It's so clever and so well done.
I love it. I love the series. The series is
great. I think more people might know the series. Don, what do you think?
I mean, it's just because it's more well known because it's FX, so it's
accessible, right?
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. I'm not sure how you would watch What We Do in the Shadows.
I bought it on Amazon. That's how I watched it. I bought it on Amazon.
I own it too. I own the disc.
Yeah, so, I mean,
bought the disc.
Either way, I own it, and I loved it. I'm like, this is something. totally different. When anybody can bring a different spin to the category, I love it.
Oh, it's so good. It's a fake documentary, kids, for those of you who don't know it. And it's about this in Wellington, New Zealand, this group of vampires who share a house. It's fucking hilarious. You just have to watch it.
No other way to describe it. It's fucking
right?
hilarious. I back her up.
Yeah, I will check it out, definitely. Yeah, I know plenty of people who are really into the series. I haven't heard anybody really talk about the movie, but if it's a recommendation,
that's why I wanted to mention
it.
that, Clint, because a lot of people don't really realize where it came from, and then there's another spin-off, which is Wellington Paranormal. The two cops that show up in the movie, they're not in the series, but they're in the movie. They spun that off into a series that's, again, so ridiculous and very funny. It's just so fun to have a break. And it's about these two Wellington cops that are sort of clueless and keep stumbling across. It's like the X-Files meets Monty Python. It's just weird. And
it's amazing. And
so cute.
And when you can have two spinoffs from the same series, that just proves how
successful spinoffs.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll go buy the disc too. Don and I keep having this conversation about how great it is to have physical media.
I know. I love
just streaming.
I have
things.
My collection. I know. It's ridiculous. Now that I'm moving, I have to put everything into storage, and it's like, really, Pat? Really?
That's gonna stop. Digital. That's all gonna be. She's gonna change everything to digital. Please don't do it.
I don't think I can. I can. I've been going through all my collectibles. I mean, decades of stuff, and selling them off in my store. I have a store on b5events.com that we were just selling autographs from the Babylon 5 actors for them. So they get the money, but and I started just putting up my one-offs, and just going, oh, do I really want to part with this? My X-Files original script. And do I really? And my fiance's looking at the packed attic full of shit in boxes going,
get rid of it.
What are you doing? I would rather it go into the hands of the fans that would love it. So
watch what's going to happen. We're going to do another podcast, and I'm going to get something from you with an auction. And I'll be like, do you remember this? And then you're going to cry.
I'll start crying.
I'm going to put it in a box and send it to you because I'm going to feel that bad.
Yeah, you softy.
And then it's going to be a vicious circle, and you're never going to get rid of anything.
That's right. So don't get rid of it.
Exactly.
Well, I do, but then it just starts to. Americans are hoarders. Have you noticed that? We just all hold on to our stuff and we collect, and which is fine up until a point, but then you have putting it in storage, and storage costs thousands of dollars a year. And why am I doing this again?
Yeah, that's awful. A good purge is good to do now and then.
I think it's important. Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Well, before I walk away from Dead Air, I wanted to go back and talk about something. That's okay. I love talking to you. This is great. So I wanted to kind of get an idea of how you got involved with that production. I mean, were you approached? Was it something that you heard about through an agency? You had to go audition for it, or somebody thought you'd just be perfect for it, or how'd that go?
It was the only job I've ever gotten without having to audition. That Corbin Bernsen was looking for a way to make a movie very affordably, fairly quickly. And so if you notice in the script, it's the location is very contained, right? So there's not a lot. There's a it gets bigger at the end, but it's very doable for a budget in a film. And it's very psychological for a lot of it. And he wanted actors who already had a following that would bring audience to the film. And that's how I got it. So Mosley and I think he hired Bill first, and Navid and myself. Yeah, I think Kenny Yackel might have recommended me, say, hey, take a look at Patty Tallman, because he worked with me on Babylon 5. But I've also cultivated my fandom. I really love fans and the groups, and I have a nice following on Facebook and Instagram, and it's just So I think that's how I got it, Clint, is that Corbin took a look at my stats and went, okay. I didn't even have to read for him. I don't think I even met him until we were ready to shoot it.
Okay.
Or maybe I did. Maybe I went in. I can't really remember now, but it was not, there was no audition. I was so grateful. I suck at auditioning, and it's just great to not have to do it.
They sound horrible.
It's horrible.
Movie. All I know is when you were barricading the door and you put that plant and you said, and Bill looks at you and says, well, what is that going to do? And you're just like, fuck you.
That was improvised? That was improvised.
I knew she was going to say that, dude. I knew she was going to say that. I knew it.
It was all on me. And Corbin's like, can we do a take where you're not cussing? And I said, fuck no.
No. It was perfect. It was amazing. She just goes, fuck you. I'm like, I had to pause it because I'm like, I'm going to laugh for the next 5 minutes because I just did not see that coming.
Thank you, Don, so much for saying that.
I wasn't going to let this interview go without bringing that up.
And that was perfect because I was going to lead into that. One of the things I was going to mention was that there was kind of like a mysterious relationship between your character and Bill's, just because they didn't clearly spell out in the film, whether it was with dialogue or anything other than a scene like that, that there had been a more intimate relationship between your characters. But I mean, we read it loud and clear as soon as we saw it. I mean, that was pretty great. And I think that's a great improvisation because nothing could spell that out more perfectly than that. So on that, being that it seems like that was a film where not only was it psychological, like you said, but they were kind of relying on the viewer to draw things out of it, without really spelling it out. And we kind of felt like through discussing the film that maybe there was a bigger underlying story than what we were seeing, because the whole thing looked, at face value, it looked like a terrorist attack. Right. It looked like an outbreak of some type, where it was infecting thousands upon thousands of people, where a city in the end kind of looks like it's dead. But then there was, the misdirection. So like the so-called terrorist said things that stuck out, like about the virus being engineered, at Quantico. And things like that. Well, I mean, I know where Quantico is. Don, I think, has seen it. There's no way anybody's breaking that out of there.
I've been there.
So
I'm only an hour away from there.
Right. So it kind of gave this implication, like maybe there was, maybe it was a plant. Maybe it intentionally got out. Maybe this guy was supposed to do that. And he also had something else inexplicable, almost like an antivirus or an antidote to kind of keep himself from getting sick. Where did that come from? I mean, if this was engineered Quantico, well, then I would think the same thing was engineered there. So it really starts the wheels turning about what really was taking place. Was this kind of an inside job? And I don't know if, and maybe you don't know, but I don't know if that was the intention. You have any thoughts on that?
I don't know that was the intention.
Okay.
There were questions left because there was a possibility of doing Dead Air 2 kind of thing, that there was a possibility of a sequel. So and in so many films, there's like so much going on, you can't really answer it all in 1 2-hour film. Right. Plus, there was some discussion about it being somewhat like our reality, in that it's so hard to get to the root of things, to get the answers, to get the truth. It's so tough to know. That was what I feel like we felt in Dead Air was how I think a lot of us feel today. Just like, what's going on? How do we find out? Where's the truth? What, you know, it's a tough spot to be in. But I think part of it was that they were hoping to maybe do a follow up to the film.
Yeah, it felt like it
Yeah.
left wide open.
Right.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's still a chance. You never know.
Never
With
know.
crowdfunding these days, if
Never
get
know.
enough people to watch it,
That's
know.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Very cool. Well, unfortunately, Mo is not able to make it with us today, which kind of stinks because he was really our Babylon 5 expert.
guy.
We were really hoping he
I'll
would sit
just
here.
have to come back for a B5.
Yeah.
Oh no, we
I
can't.
was
Yeah.
really hoping he could
Oh.
geek out for a couple of minutes, and really ask some questions I know he's been dying to ask, and unfortunately he didn't give them to us. So
That's all right. We'll just do more of a sci-fi section
Oh,
next
yeah.
time.
We'll
Right.
do that.
Yep.
But that's okay because I did my research on the shorts that you did. So
Cool.
I got those questions for you. So Clint, are you good? You ask
I'm
whatever
good.
else you want,
You-
man.
I will pass it directly to you. Ask anything you want.
He has a better voice than me, so you can keep listening to him. No, so something that I found interesting was one of your shorts, which was called Waitin'. You
Mm-hmm.
played Sally.
Mm-hmm.
And what else was cool was, if I'm not mistaken, your son was in that movie.
Yeah.
So as the kid on crutches is the credits that he got.
Isn't
Explain
that
that
funny?
one. How did he have to audition for that, or was that just
He
that's my
did
son?
not.
Shocker.
We needed
Spoiled.
friends and family, to fill in. And the cast was asked to invite anyone in that they wanted to, and Julian did. He volunteered. It was very fun.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
And that was fun for
really
him too, because it was a time lapse setup. So it was all choreographed and then shot with a particular speed camera and all of that. So he really enjoyed the technology involved.
That's awesome.
Geeked out.
How old was he when he did that?
Let's see, how old was he? He was probably 14, something like that,
Oh,
15.
he was definitely drawn to that technology.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
He's old enough for an audition.
That's right.
Old enough. That's right. He got an IMDb credit for it, which cracked me up. Just thought
Well,
that
how do you
was.
think I
That's
found
pretty
it?
cool.
That's some good
Oh, I
trivia.
see. Okay.
I did a little.
You did some work on that. Okay.
I did.
Good for you, Don.
So, and one of your other ones, I guess, what is it? Rose is a rose is a rose.
Aw.
So you played Just Rose, and another credit that came up was Barbara Goodson, and I'm a real
Right.
big nerd when it comes to anime and voice acting, and she has a lot of credits on that. So, do you remember working with her, or remember any part of
didn't
that?
work with her. I didn't. My scene was I was with the lead actor. So the story is kind of a midlife love story. His wife has passed away a few years ago, and he finally decides he's this awkward guy. He's funny, eccentric, awkward guy. And he starts to try to find his high school sweetheart who he loved so much. And he goes through a series of disastrous dates where he's looking for this woman named Rose to see if so through the social medias he tries to find them. And I am the real Rose. I am the woman he knew. But there's a twist to that. So it's just, I just had my scene with him, is my point.
Gotcha. I was just
that-
curious because I'm a nerd like that.
Yeah, I did see her at one of our gatherings to watch the film and to have a little party afterwards, and lovely person, lovely lady. That just some fun facts. That was the director was a classmate of mine at Carnegie Mellon, an actor and a filmmaker he's very active in filmmaking, and he invited a bunch of us to be a part of it. From his class. And the reason I bring it up is because it reunited my fiance and I. We went to college together. I've known him since I was 17 years old, but we never hooked up and made a mess of it. So we've been friends over the years and seen each other over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that project that brought us together to have sit down and have a conversation and get to know each other again. And we fell madly in love and are getting
Such a
married
small
this
world.
year.
Isn't it just weird how
So
things
weird.
like that happen? I mean, seriously.
I know. It's weird. It's crazy. But I just, wow, how blessed.
Oh, congratulations
on
being a
thank
fiance.
you. So I have a very, very sweet spot in my heart for that film.
It sounds
you can understand.
It sounds like it. So, and just going through a couple other things, I find it funny that, and I don't know if you had any influence on it, but Tony Todd was on Babylon 5 for a short time. Any influence in that? Hey, you need to get that guy on
Tony
film?
doesn't need my help.
He doesn't really need anybody's help.
Oh my God.
I'm just curious.
I love Tony. I see when we see each other. I like to think we're fond of each other. I'll only speak for myself, but we have a great time. And he took me out to dinner in Texas when we were there for a convention. It's so good to see him. He's hilarious.
He is.
I just laugh at him all the time.
Don't you have a story about Tony Todd with her?
Oh yeah. I heard that there may have been some
shenanigans.
What?
Some slight pranking that may have happened, perhaps pranks. On the set of
that kind of shenanigans.
Night of the Living Dead.
Should have been more specific. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't say that.
No, I love to tease Tony because he's so intimidating. He's a big, strong, deep guy, and I just it's irresistible. You got a picture with him. I love it.
Awesome.
It's irresistible to try to tease him and to make fun because he can take it, he can take it.
Absolutely.
So we were working nights obviously, and everyone's a little loopy, and it's trying to keep your energy up. Our dressing room where the actors hung out, the actor green room, was a barn on that property that they tried to clean up, but it was a fucking barn. Okay. So it was full of straw and horse poo, and they cleaned it out and they hung shower curtains in between the stalls so that we would have a place to change clothes and sort of privacy. And they stuck an old couch and table and chairs in there for us to sit. But it was a fucking barn, right? Cold.
Yeah.
Dusty. That's only going to go so far.
Yeah. So we had a couple of army cots to lay down on because I'm sure everyone knows this now, but when you're shooting a film, there's often hours of downtime in between setups, and or there might be a scene you're not in, and so there's a couple of hours that you can rest, and it's important to rest when you can. So Tony would be on one of those cots in one of those stalls with the shower curtain, and I would just take it upon myself to find a way to torture him. Basically torture him.
That's what we heard.
Yeah. And we had that house really did have all of those taxidermy things on the walls, and one of I found it incredibly sad, and these poor animals dismembered in various stages of taxidermy, and I found a baby alligator that had been stuffed. And it wasn't, I don't think it was ever used. So I was able I took it into the barn with us as sort of our mascot, but it would show up like Tony would be sleeping, and I would take 20 minutes or a half hour, if that's what it took, to slowly inch this baby alligator into Tony's sleeping arms, so that the head of the alligator would be like right under his nose for his face. I would just take all the time it took to slowly, and everyone else is just peeing over there because they're laughing so hard and trying not to make noise. Or I put it in my pants in a scene. It was small enough to fit in these pants, and I had a jacket, and then the camera would be on Tony, and he's turning around looking at me. I'm saying the camera's on my back, and I would turn around, and this alligator would be sticking out of my pants. It's just like, he would be like, Tallman.
Where are these blooper reels at? Where's this at on the Blu-ray?
Oh, they need to be in the special features for sure.
I would clothespin signs to his back. It was the crew had started, they called it, I guess they just called it clothespinning, but they would put, kick me signs on people's back and stuff like that on the crew. And I would try to do it on Tony so that he had a kick me sign. And then Tom would get mad at me if it got caught on camera. So I had to cut it out because we didn't have a lot of time to fuck around. We had,
Sounds like he's a stickler for the rules.
Tom
Savini. I highly doubt that. But and I'll bring that up too. So again, I'm just going to say that Night of the Living Dead, your version of it was absolutely incredible. It actually got me into horror, and I actually have a Blu-ray copy behind me that I got Tony to sign and Joe Bob Briggs to sign, because that was where I got introduced to that movie, was on Monster Vision.
Oh, wow.
Through Joe Bob.
Joe Bob.
And my dad told me, boy, don't watch that. That shit's going to scare you. So what did I do? I turned it on. Of course. Turn it on. And one of the first things I see is, the one zombie that falls off the balcony of the steps, and you beat the shit out of him with the fire poker.
Oh.
And I'm like, Dad, I don't think I can watch this.
I don't want to sleep by myself tonight, Dad.
Like, I told you. But since then, it's really held a special place in my heart, because it got me into horror, and just you as Barbara was amazing, especially seeing the 68 version and seeing the 1990 version. It was like, it was two totally different ends of the spectrum. And the way that you brought it was incredible. I mean,
oh, thank you.
Like I said, and you've done so many roles, but that was just the one that it's always stuck with me, which kind of brings me to the next question. Were you ever in any of these other, so there's two other projects I know in Night of the Living Dead. There was Origins, which was in 2014, and Genesis in 2017. Were you ever asked to reprise the role as Barbara?
No.
Oh, what a shame.
I've never
blasphemy.
Been. Is that weird? I know, it kind of
I think it is.
I find it odd.
Yeah.
That there wasn't anyone who ever, in all of the follow-ups of George's films, that they never thought, let's check in on Barbara. What's she doing these days?
Considering you're the only one
crazy Barbara
walked away.
I got all a final girl, as it were.
Scream Queen. You're in that category. Don't think you're not.
Oh, thank you.
You're there. But yeah, it was.
Would you ever consider reprising the role?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask.
I think as the zombie grandma of zombie killers, I would have a good time with that. That could be really fun, just to be batshit crazy, hair and dreadlocks and just fucking crazy. Right?
It seems to be a trend these days.
Wouldn't it be
they're
amazing?
Bringing everybody back,
like Ezekiel from Walking Dead with all the fucking dreads and
that's it. Just bring it. Just scary. Knows how to do it. It's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. Because again, I mean, just the fact,
and I'm still alive, so we should do it while I'm still alive.
Yes,
Clint, 100%. How much money you got?
Let me check.
I'll write a check for that real quick.
Yeah.
Tom Savini, you can direct it too.
Absolutely.
He's the best.
Back in. All the originals.
How was it working with him and George? Was it it had to have been fun. It had
awesome. So good. George is like a gentle giant. He was always just so easy to be with and talk to, and he was very, very clear in what he wanted. But I mean, I was honestly straight out of school, and I had suggestions for my character. I wasn't being inappropriate for somebody else, but I had ideas, and he incorporated a lot of my ideas. That whole ending for Julie Dean and Night Riders was mine. I came up with certain. I just really, I'm so grateful for his willingness to let me be creative and bring it. Yeah. And Tom is I think an ultimate actor's director, because he loves actors. He is an actor. He's a tremendous actor, and trusted us. So his challenges had to do with dealing with the production company and the technology, and having not enough time to get his ideas in, that kind of thing. But he trusted us as actors to handle it, and everybody did. Everybody was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it's
really great people to work with.
When directors trust their actors, it makes things so much easier, because you don't have to watch them 24/7.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to handle them. There was no handling. We knew how to do it. We got on set. We knew what we were doing. Yeah.
That's That means a lot, especially when it comes to, making a movie that you don't have any time to make mistakes on or have a lot of takes on.
That's it.
So, and the fact that, I mean, again, the product that came out with that was ridiculous. I mean, it's like I said, sorry to harp on it, but I love that movie. And we'll go back a little bit further. So, and I don't know if you got to, but Stuck on You, a trauma movie. Did you meet Lloyd Kaufman?
I that was a long time ago, and my recollection is fuzzy, but I did. No, not a problem. I think it's a good counterpoint because I had such an amazing experience on most of the other projects that I worked on. I found them to be pretty despicable.
Yeah.
They were kind of like the worst of what Hollywood you hear these terrible stories about. They were that.
And that's exactly why I brought up. I'm like, again, opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. So, I didn't know, there's a lot I didn't know at certain points of your career. You just don't know yet.
Right.
And you're finding your footing. And I was fresh from New York City and the theater realm. So I wasn't as versed in film and TV. And I did put my foot down about a few things that I just refused. It was like, are you kidding me? I have to refuse to do something this disgusting? What?
No.
What? I'm actually in that position,
Oh. I'll be honest with you. When I saw you on the credit for that, I was surprised. I was like, because I know, like, after watching what you've been in, I'm like, I know that had to be uncomfortable to a certain.
There's things that happen to actors in your life, in your career, that you don't expect. And, you go into, nobody goes into a project going, oh, good, I'm going to be, put in this position today. Nobody wants that. Sure. Nobody wants to be having to watch your back or to be ready for some kind of abuse. Right? Nobody ever wants to be in that position, but you often just don't know that that's going to happen. And I didn't know enough about those guys to realize this was their MO. And so I had no protection on that level. There was also a lot of actors on that film, and we were all kind of horrified.
Yeah.
The truth is that when you're getting started as an actor, and it happens throughout your career, but you usually figure out a way to handle it, which is making money. And you either have an ancillary way of making some money. That's why so many actors are entrepreneurs. They'll have a restaurant, or they'll be selling real estate, or they'll have another income stream. So you can fucking say no. So you can have some freedom. So you can have integrity. Sure. It's hard to have integrity when you're starving. So not to say that I was
you'll do
helpless.
Whatever it takes.
You just don't necessarily look too closely. Oh, good, it's a job. Great, you jump in. And you didn't do your due diligence, and you end up in a company like Trauma. And you go, fuck.
again, viewers, listeners, not to stir up bad blood with Patricia Tallman, but I had to ask that question.
No, I don't mind. Actually, I think it's important, Don, honestly, or I would have just said moving on. I don't have to talk about anything
and
I don't want to.
That's kind of why I asked it right after, because I knew, you had a good experience with Tom and George, and then
the best.
I'm like, let's ask about Trauma just to see.
Sure. I think it's great for all of us to know that about it, because I think every one of us can relate, no matter what your career or what your experience. You've been in a position that was less than optimal. Sure. And especially when you're young, you make some choices that you wish you didn't, but that's how you learn.
That's why you figure it out where you are. I mean,
you get better.
You weren't in another Trauma film. You moved on from that. And
I learned.
Yeah, you learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like I said, it was just really weird to watch that movie, and I'm like, after you were kind of out of it, I'm like, I'm just gonna turn this off because I don't really want to watch this anymore.
I've never watched it because of that.
Terrible.
It's terrible. I'm sure it's terrible.
And we're not reviewing it, so don't ask.
Right. Thank you.
So
I'll watch it on my own. Yeah.
You can watch it on your own. I've already tried. So I guess if you could pick a role to reprise, whether it was in a movie, a short, wherever, what would it be?
To reprise.
You could do it all again.
Well, I like the idea of, of Barbara currently, like what if the world had gone through a zombie apocalypse, like what would it look like and where would Barbara be now? I think that's probably the only role that I've done that would lend itself to a good story. We want it to go to a good story, right? Sure. No, I've had people talk about Babylon 5. There's things that could be done there with Lita Alexander and Jakar going off the ship. But for us today, with what we've discussed, I think clearly Barbara would be the one to catch up on. Yeah.
I think so too. I think the question mark at the end, I mean,
that's it.
That's we know what happened at the end of the 68 version. There is no doubt nobody lived, but you did in the remake. And yeah, I think there's a question mark there. And and if it ever came out, if somebody asked you and it came out, man, you got my admission, like 100%, just because
excellent.
It's just one of those things. I mean, it's so influential. Like we've done it multiple times. We've tried to do a top 5 remake, and The Thing always comes up, The Fly always comes up, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But Night of the Living Dead, it doesn't matter whose list it is, whether it's 1 through 5, it's on that list. It just doesn't matter because again, and it's because of you and Tony. I mean, when we met Tony at Monster Mania, the guy's amazing. I mean, I actually took him
clearly.
I commissioned somebody to make a custom Candyman portrait for him. And I took it and gave it to him, and he was very grateful for that. And when we did our photo shoot, he remembered exactly who I was. Like the shirt that I had on with the picture, he knew who I was, and he was like, "Man, I really like that picture."
Aw.
And
what a sweet guy,
dude. He is. I mean, you can just talk to you, just walk up and talk to him.
Yeah.
Kind of like you. Like
he's very accessible. Yeah.
He is. He was amazing.
Well, personally, I would take a dead air too. So
well, that's also Clint. That's fair. That's fair. That would be fun. I'd love to. Well, not fun because I'm sure that there's a dark story there, but I would. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I would take anything with you starring or co-starring or third, fourth starring. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And I do want to be respectful of your time. I know that you're not feeling tip top right now.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you getting on with us anyway. I wanted to give you a minute or so. I mean, just to plug anything that you've maybe got coming up or something that you got going on that you're really proud of. I mean,
thank you.
The floor is yours. Talk about anything you want, and then we'll say goodbye.
Well, we were talking just before we went live with your audience, or before we started recording this, that about community and the times we're living in, and what I've been doing is forming a community. So I have a Patreon community. I might move the platform, but it's essentially the same. And what we do is we just work weekly on making our lives the best they can be, however that might be for you. And I bring all of the skills that I've learned into this realm of our group and the community. So I'm very proud of that. And if you're interested in checking it out, you can go look it up on patreon.com/Patricia Tallman. And just I would love that if you would like to, you guys out there would love to take a look.
Absolutely.
And I'm on the socials. So Facebook and Instagram at patriciatallman.rocks, because I like rocks. I do like rocks, crystals and rocks. I've always been a rock hound, fossils. And on Twitter, I'm more active on Instagram, but yeah, we're out there and we're just trying to help people keep your chins up and find the magic. I call it magical living. Like that's been my experience. That's why I'm traveling. So we were kind of talking about stuff and collections, and I'm selling my house, but we're not buying another one. We're just putting everything into storage, and we're going to travel the world for a year or so. And I know COVID, I know all the things, but for some reason it feels like the right thing to do. And I'm leading a big adventure in Africa in December of this year. Then I'd like to lead a big adventure every year. New Zealand was 2019, and then of course COVID. So my Scotland trip got put off, but that'll be next after Africa, and back to New Zealand, I hope. Anyway, I'm going to be reporting in from around the world as we travel. We're going to just keep live, touch base, stay in touch with the community, keep leading my online events. I was really blessed I know COVID locked us down, and here I was building a travel business. So I put everything online. I called it B5 Events, and I just called in my friends, and we just did events online. And that's when I started the community online too, because I thought we need each other more than ever now that we're stuck. So how do we get through this? And it's just become such a magical place. I'm so grateful that I was able to somehow pull that off, with it, because it's been so rewarding for me. And evidently, the people in my community are really getting something out of it. So we have special guests. I've got Nana visitor coming in. I've had a bunch of my friends from my entertainment industry, and also from this, wellness community, not just wellness, but it's personal development. So Tony Robbins, things like that.
Yeah.
I am deep into, I just want to make life fantastic and help people through hard times. I went through a really bad crash and burn about 10 years ago. And it was coming out of that, sort of reinventing myself. And what do I want? Just starting all over again, emotionally and professionally. Like, what do I really, really want? And that journey has been informing everything I'm doing right now. So it's been really cool. And I appreciate having a chance just to mention it. And so I just encourage people to go kind of look at what we are doing online, and I'll have some free stuff going on soon, free events. So look forward to
I can tell you
meeting
this right
more
now,
folks.
If you think that you haven't made our life special by doing this, you would be 100% wrong.
100%. You will always have a special place with us now.
Yeah, we can't thank you enough, and this has been phenomenal.
My pleasure.
Honestly, I'm really glad that it was kind of you that started the whole interview process with whoever we may interview later. Nobody else I would want to start with. You're an amazing person. I followed you on Facebook, Instagram. I know you're a fantastic person, and just keep doing what you're doing, because you're making a difference.
Thank you. I just want to be there for people. I know that I'm extra. Sometimes I know that I have my way of expressing myself, and I'm just not going to change that. And if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't, that's cool. But I feel like, we all need to kind of reach out and help who we can help. We're talking about mental health, or talking about the COVID, and there has never been a time where mental health was more important. And I mean mental health, not just necessarily in the darkest terms of going down, but it could just be you're feeling depressed. It could just be you're feeling disconnected. It could be discouragement, hopelessness. And there's help out there, meaning there's people who can help you bolster yourself, just have a great conversation. Like in our Patreon group, we have a book club, and the book club has become the book is almost ancillary to the conversation, right?
Oh,
it's like it's just this really sweet group of people who love each other and want to, hey, how you doing? And we're from all over the world. Germany, the UK, all over US, Australia. It's just, so it's really cool to be able to get online and meet people from other countries and find out all the similarities we have, as opposed to all the differences we've been forced to look at lately.
Absolutely. Well, the biggest thing is everybody's human. I mean, we're all the same. I mean, that's how people got to look at things. Opinions shouldn't shape who a person is. I mean, everybody has opinions.
Opinions change too. I had
100%.
opinions 10 years ago. They're different than today. And, I try to keep an open mind. And I think that so much of what's happened is is because we've been pitched against each other. The
Yeah.
media has been created to make us freak out. And if we knew the truth, that's not what they think. They're not so different. It's not that bad, but they don't make any money unless we're clicking on their articles and reading all this inflammatory crap.
Right.
That's just so much of it's just not even true. Not even true.
You know what I find really funny out of anything is when I was watching Dead Air, I noticed that the date was 2009 is when the movie was made.
Right.
It felt more like 2019.
Right. I know. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's really weird
how it brings everything to
that one's had legs.
Exactly.
It still feels relevant now.
Yeah,
see, so Clint's vindicated. It's like, yes, we should make Dead Air.
He's good.
Dead Air 2. Yes.
That's right.
So get Dead Air 3 going too, because we know he's going to love Dead Air 2. But yeah, we don't want to monopolize any more of your time because
thank you so much. I appreciate it. I am fading.
Yeah,
I can feel it.
I can tell.
Let's take it out.
But ladies and gentlemen, we just interviewed one of the best people that I think I've talked to in a long time.
Oh, thanks, honey. I appreciate that.
And if you got a chance to contribute to her Patreon, please do. It's worth it.
We have a lot of fun. It's a fun group. We've got stuff going on every week. So it's not just, you're buying me a cup of coffee. It's that we hang out. We hang out.
I'll send you a cup of coffee.
All right.
Anyway, guys, she's fading. Patricia Tallman, please check anything out that she's been in. Night of the Living Dead, 1990 remake, my top choice. Night Riders, Dead Air. They're all fantastic. You can't go wrong with anything that she is in. And we just really appreciate her being here. And, I'll take the time to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for what you've done, for being here with us. Again, we're not an established podcast yet, but this goes a long way to helping us.
You will be.
So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Don. Thanks, Clint.
Yep.
You guys be well.
Be well.
Let me know when you want to do a Babylon 5 chat. We'll do that. We'll
be on that.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.